everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. Today, my very special guest is Shawn, and Shawn is just another N=1, just another example of someone who came across this crazy carnivorous lifestyle and way of eating. He was crazy enough to believe it. He was crazy enough to have faith and to put his toe in the water and see what happened. And I'll let him tell us all about it. So, Shawn, welcome. Tell us all about your background, how you came to this, how your health was, etc., and how things have changed. Basically, up on your hind legs. Give us your whole story.
Thanks for having me. Basically, I've been unhealthy since I was a child, so lots of unhealthy habits, and worked EMS, so I had a crazy schedule, gained an incredible amount of weight. I mean, I was over 300 pounds when I started, working EMS, and just went up from there, from going to school and working and everything. So about 2019, I'd gotten to a point where my health was just horrible. I was out by that point in 2019. I was already well over, 400 pounds, between 400 and 420, and ended up losing my my job. And from 2019 to 22, I basically sat at home, laid on the couch during COVID, all that stuff, and ended up even in worse health, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, hypertension. I mean, it was an incredible just diagnosis for somebody in their 30s, And one day I was just listening to Joe Rogan, actually, on a podcast at some point, and heard somebody talking about this carnivore diet thing. I had no idea what it was, never considered it. And whenever I heard them talking about it, my ears kind of stood up, because I was, like I said, bad health, overweight, like extremely overweight, and extremely depressed. I mean, I was so depressed I wouldn't even go out of the house, And just to give an example, of the shape that I was in, I wouldn't even get in when I would get in the shower to just bathe myself, I'd be out of breath. I was that big. I was 5'9", 457 pounds plus, and, just horrible shape. So after hearing about that interview with Carnivore, I got curious and looked it up online, and just happened to stumble across Dr. Ken Berry. So I, being curious about it, listened to him. I thought the guy was insane. And the more I heard him talk and the more I heard him say, I was like, there's no way that could work for me. But if it would, I'm willing to try it. What do I have to lose at this point, And so I did. I tried it for the month, October of really 2021. I tried it. I said I'll do it for 30 days. And after that 30 days was up during the holidays, I knew that there's no diet I've ever been able to stick to during that time period. So I went back to eating my regular old diet and started feeling horrible again. During that month of October, I felt so good that I knew that was a change that I needed to make. So after that time period rolled around, after the first of the year there, I kept wanting to make the change, and putting it off to tomorrow. And as most of us can attest, tomorrow never comes. So to make a long story shorter a little bit, April the 17th of 2022, there was nothing really in particular about that day, nothing special. It just happened to be the day that I had had enough and decided not tomorrow, but today I'm going to change. And that was the day that changed my life, April the 17th, 2022. And I said, I'm starting carnivore, is what I told my wife, today, not tomorrow. And I did. And I just continued on from there.
All right. Well, 450 pounds plus at 5'9". Mm-hmm. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
How much have you lost? Where are you now?
I weigh 225 pounds right now.
Right. So, half off.
That's right. 234 pounds I've lost from April 17th, 2022 until April the 17th, 2023.
Congratulations, sir. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, it's insane. I kind of wonder if it's going to stop.
Yeah. So tell me this. How on God's green earth can you possibly work as an EMT at that weight?
Effectively, I don't know. That's probably a lot of what led to me losing my job, was just because, I was actually showing up and going through the motions of my job. I'm sure I had a horrible attitude, a horrible outlook. I felt horrible. Some of the people I used to work with give me a hard time. I used to drink about 6 of those tall boy monster energy drinks and a half a pot of coffee just to get going. Yeah. And it didn't help. It made it worse. So,
all right.
Trying to get everybody else to be healthy and take care of their health. And here I am looking like, in the condition that I'm in, wasn't setting a very good example by any means.
So you're basically year and a half in, give or take?
Yeah, they're pretty close.
All right. So clearly what happened was, about a year and a half ago, minus 6 weeks or so, you died of scurvy?
No, honestly, I've had no problems. My blood work's actually been phenomenal. I had the last time I'm supposed to go next month to have more blood work done because it was so good last time. He didn't want to see me back for about a year. But the last time I saw him was around September of 2022, and I had reversed the type 2 diabetes, fixed the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I came off one of my blood pressure medications. I was on 3. Now I'm on 2 lower doses of lisinopril and amlodipine. My thyroid was kind of acting a little bit weird, but it was because me and him talked about it, and it was apparently because of I had started on a testosterone supplement because my testosterone at that time was so low that I needed to have some testosterone replacement, which I did get put on until it can hopefully fix itself as well. No scurvy, though.
That's good. Wow, incredible. And obviously, on a carnivore diet for a year and a half or so now, you must be real backed up by now. You probably haven't been to the restroom for a year and a half.
Well, hey, the best thing about it is I used to be in the bathroom 3 or 4 times a day, and it was absolutely embarrassing and miserable. And I'm actually pretty regular now. It's not all the time, but it's better than normal. If there is a normal, I just believe that I'm consuming better quality food and my body's using it more effectively.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, at the end of the day, most people who are eating a standard diet, including plant materials, fiber, all that kind of stuff, the stuff that you cannot digest, that's what's bulking out your stool.
Oh, yeah.
And if you eat nothing but meat and fat to speak of, then really there's not much waste to speak of because your body does indeed absorb and use the vast majority of that. So a lot of people say, it's constipation if you're not going 3 or 4 times a day, which is absolutely ridiculous, crazy, in fact, nuts, and ignorant, frankly.
I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I can mirror the same experience as yourself. I'm now 8.5 years in, and
wow.
While I go most days, there aren't many days that I don't go. The volume we're talking about is much, much smaller than normal. There's no straining, there's no pushing, there's no effort whatsoever. It's one and done, 2 minutes in and out of that room, or less, frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
And that includes the time it takes to wash your hands. So, it's,
right.
This is not a problem whatsoever.
No.
And, if I was constipated, there'd be pain, there'd be discomfort, there'd be a toxic reaction in my body to all this garbage that's still backing up in there, and I'd be bloated. Well, actually, my bloat's gone.
Mm-hmm.
and there's no toxic reaction going on, my health is, now 8.5 years later is the best it's ever been in all aspects: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, the whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You tell me. What else other than just weight loss have you experienced?
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, as far as one of the main things that I noticed the quickest was the energy level and the mental transformation. I mean, obviously, I've tried all kind of diets. I've tried the speed pills that the docs put you on to try to help you lose weight. I tried to make myself drag my 400 pounds, close to 500 pound self to the gym. Nothing would work, So, I tried all those different things, but I just never could find the energy. I never could, hold on to that because I could never tell it was like having to force something that's not natural. And after starting to eat carnivore diet, and really I moved about 2 months into the BBBE diet or, challenge. Started as a challenge, but I just never stopped. That's what I eat even today. I just noticed that I had so much energy. My outlook on everything just went from just who cares? I don't care if I live anymore to I want to go outside and walk, I found my way into one of the Facebook community group deals for a little accountability, which I'm a moderator in now still. But what I noticed being involved and so active in that group, we would do these challenges. And so I started in April the 17th with the carnivore diet as a whole. And until June the 1st of last year, I just ate whatever 3 times a day, just got used to eating carnivore. And then on June 1st, we had a challenge, the BBBE challenge. So I was going to do it for 30 days, but I liked it so much, I just held on to it. Well, then on July the 1st, we started a walking challenge. And I noticed by July the 1st, where I hadn't been outside walking, I haven't done any. I mean, I was, like I said, 460 pounds laying on the couch depressed. I went outside and started walking as part of the challenge and had plenty of energy and felt like doing it. And I actually made a video of me at that time, which is on my YouTube channel. And, it's just a little short clip of me saying, motivation follows action. And that's something that I've learned over the last year that, you're never going to feel like making that change. But once you start taking those steps, you're going to see that they work so well to propel you forward. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, eating carnivore and the differences that I've seen.
Awesome. And so your eating pattern now, how many meals a day? Tell us a little bit about that. How are you managing that?
Right. So I still eat twice a day. I tried the OMAD way of eating, but it just wasn't for me. Not that it didn't work. It's just that I didn't feel like it was adequate to what I needed for my body. So basically around 2 or 3 hours after I get up, I'll eat eggs. I boil eggs every week. I mix a half a stick of butter with the yolks and make deviled eggs, basically hot water, butter, and salt, and put it back into the egg. And then I just have a container of those eggs, and that's what I have. I make, a couple 5 days or so worth and stick it in the refrigerator. Whenever it gets time to get up and have my first meal, I'll go grab one, and there you go. I got my meal. And then usually about 2:00, I will have a ribeye steak with butter on top with some salt, pepper. Every once in a while I'll use a little garlic, seasoning, but I don't do that. Don't use the garlic a whole lot. But it's for the last 7 to 8 months now, it's been ribeye steak, butter, and eggs. I even lost my taste for the bacon I used to love so much.
Doesn't like
and
bacon.
I drink water.
Doesn't like bacon anymore, boys and girls. We're going to have to revoke his card, aren't we, Shawn? We're going to have to get that card back off you. Doesn't like bacon, he says. Nah, good. Awesome. And your second meal, how does that usually, when's that timed? How does that look?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just usually, I try to do it, I try not to eat within 4 hours of my bedtime, whenever that is. Sometimes it's a little closer, but I try my best to give that second meal. Like I said, usually about between 2:30 and 4, right in that time frame. It's just a ribeye steak. If I want one, I eat one. If I want 1.5, I eat 1.5. I go to my butcher shop and I get the whole rib roast. Just get them to chop it up into steaks. I usually get about 15, and stick them in the fridge. I cook 5 at a time, and there again, I got 5 days worth of second meal. So basically, I spend about 2 to 3 hours prepping my meals for 5 days, and I don't even think about food from for the rest of the week. So, and that's basically what it looks like. I mean, it's pretty simple, and I never thought in a million years I would ever be able for that to be sustainable. But like I said, it's been 8 months, and I haven't desired to even change it up.
Steak and eggs and steak. Sing it. No.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah. And
so
butter.
That's nutrition taken care of. And, it seems like it's taken care of perfectly by all of those kind of things. Down over 200 pounds, probably within 12 months from now, we'll probably have you back on the channel and you'll be able to tell us you're down to 175. Unless you want to bulk up and put some muscle on, in which case the weight might remain higher, but it'll be built the right way. Are you working out?
I'm not. I did keep walking, so the last couple of weeks I haven't really been doing a lot of walking. I had gotten a little cold and just never went back to walking as much. But I don't have like a formal workout plan. I wanted to try to get my goal weight to get to was 190. So I'm within 34 pounds of that, and I didn't want to start trying to add any muscle or anything like that until I got closer to that goal weight. But I've been considering it because at this point I'm getting to. I'm smaller now than I was in high school in 9th grade, so I'm kind of like I'm not used to being this size.
Sure. So, I mean, you've kind of alluded to it there in terms of, feeling different. It's emotionally, it's an adjustment to have a completely different set of body measurements, a different size, a totally different experience. Tell us more about that. It must be a real psychological, I'm not going to use the word shock, but it's a real change, yeah?
It absolutely it is. I mean, it feels good, and even like I get a lot of compliments and a lot of people telling me how great of a job it is, and I appreciate that. And all the support that I get, I can't say enough how encouraging that is. But it's so odd. Like you get up in the morning and you're going through your morning routine, and I walk past the mirror and I wonder who in the world's looking back at me sometimes, because it happened so fast, because I was skeptical going into it, and then when it started working, I was excited, but I didn't know it would be that effective. I didn't know I'd be throwing not just the clothes out that I was wearing, but the clothes that I had stored in a bin in the attic from however many years ago. I got them down because I had nothing to wear. And ended up having, I'm going to have to go through them and get rid of them as well because they're too big now. I mean, just stuff that you don't really think about, And, you see a lot of different things happen over, pretty quickly, honestly. So, I mean, that's a great part. The emotional part is, going back out and seeing people that I haven't seen in, 2 or 3 years. They're shocked because I look so much different and sound so much happier, but yet they don't understand the connection until we can really sit down and talk. So, it's a lot of work, as far as committing to do it, but the process of it itself is so simple and easy that it happens if you can make just a little commitment and stick with it. It's so natural that you don't realize how effective it really is until your mind's blown away, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can only imagine. Totally blown away, totally inspiring. Great job. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you counting calories or weighing stuff out or whatever, tracking anything?
The only thing that I tracked the entire time that I was eating this way is when I would step on the scale and it would give me my weight, I would take that number and I would put it in in like a little app on my phone just to track my weight loss and my BMI percentages and that kind of thing. And it would form a line on the graph showing you, whether you went up in weight or down in weight. And that's the only thing I've tracked. I haven't counted a calorie. I did look up how one of these websites said that I'm supposed to do it, really just because there was a conversation going on in the carnivore group that I was a part of. But other than that, I haven't really counted anything. I haven't figured out my macros. I haven't, the fat to protein stuff. I never cared much about figuring that out. It was working so effective. I didn't want to mess it up by trying to figure all that out. I just do it. I ate till I was full. Whenever I wasn't full, I stopped eating, and I just tried my best not to think about it anymore.
Awesome. So, the answer to the next question is a bit of a gimme. It's a bit of a slam dunk because you've kind of answered it already, but I'll ask anyway. What do you say to these folks who say to you or ask you, but how do you do this if you ain't counting, if you ain't tracking? You've got to count your calories. You've got to track them. It's the only way.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, our bodies are like well-oiled machines when you feed them the proper nutrition and the proper ingredients. I tell people in the group all the time, you don't put water in your car and expect it to run correctly. When you put the right nutrition into your body, it knows what to do with it, and it can read it effectively, and you get signals from your body. I know when I'm really hungry and when I'm bored. I know when I need to eat something, and I also know when I've had enough and it's time to stop because my body lets me know that.
Awesome. So, it's so good. It's so gratifying to hear a real person from the real world with real experience of this issue basically endorsing everything I have had to say on this issue, which is calories in, calories out is nonsense. You don't need to track nothing, frankly. You don't need to count nothing, frankly. Listen to your body, so long as you're feeding it the right stuff. And basically that's exactly what you've just said. So I thank you very much for that reinforcement of the message that I've been putting out there to people. And you've also, hit the nail on the head as well with this whole idea that I've been talking about this week, which is the biggest problem we have in this carnivore community is every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to overcomplicate this thing, to make themselves out to seem like the most intelligent person that everybody must listen to. Let's make this difficult in some way. Let's make this complicated. Let's come up with some new indice or some new idea that's above the thinking of most people, ergo make myself out to be a guru. How do you feel when you see these people, these influencers saying this kind of stuff? What goes on for you viscerally?
Oh, man, honestly, if it had been presented to me in that kind of a way, whenever I, came across Dr. Barry or some of you guys, you influencers, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been like, I don't have where I was at mentally and where I was at physically. I didn't have it. I didn't have enough care in my life to try to figure it out. I wouldn't have done it. That's absolutely it. And while I'm, like I've said, a little bit ago, I'm extremely thankful for being able to even contact you guys and tell you all that I'm thankful for y'all's voice in the community. it's so critical for us to get the message across that it's simple. Our bodies know what to do with the material that we give it. Don't make it harder than it has to be, because there's so many people out there right now that are in that place where I was at a year ago, or a little over a year ago, who are grasping at straws, trying to hold on to hope just to make it from day to day, when they could be thriving, they could be experiencing life instead of just existing in life. And they need that simplicity and not an overcomplicated jargon jumble of equations to try to figure out. I mean, it's ridiculous to me, you know, that we would make it something that's not. And, you know, in the group that I moderate with, I try to encourage everybody. I'm like, you know, everybody wants to know. And that was one of the questions, you know, that I had, you know, for you, as far as, is there a better way? And I just don't think there is a better way. Now, your body will tell you what you need when it comes to those macronutrients and, you know, how much fat, how much protein. Your body will tell you all that. If you need more of that, your body will inform you by the signals that it sends, and you'll be like, well, for some reason today, I want some more fat off of my ribeye, and you'll eat more. Or for some reason today, I want more protein. You know, you're gonna. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe in a scientific way, or maybe an eloquent speech, but I know that it's like magic. Your body communicates with itself, and it says, hey, give them an urge to have this, more of this or more of that, because that's what I've seen in my own body, you know?
Mm, yeah. No, look, I don't think you need science. I don't think you need eloquence, although I think that really was pretty eloquent. I think you got that squared away perfectly right there. Listen to your body. Remember one thing. Eat the flesh, meaning the muscle meats, and not so much the organs, and the associated fat of large ruminant animals mostly. Add salt and water to taste. Eggs are fantastic. Dairy's fine if you're not someone that reacts negatively to dairy. Rinse and repeat. Listen to your body. Don't count nothing, don't track nothing, don't weigh nothing, including yourself, actually, unless that works for you and that's a motivator for you. Because, I mean, your body weight can change a lot from day to day just on water. And it can give you, it can give you the wrong idea. So if you think that it can be a motivator for you, great. And the thing here is that anyone that tells you this is difficult and this is complicated and this, you need to understand this and that and the other thing, and throws a bunch of sums and symbols and all this kind of nonsense at you, you know that's a charlatan that you don't need to be listening to. Right,
I agree.
Right there. Right there. This is simple. This is straightforward. All you're doing is following the design of your body as it's evolved over deep time. Deep time. You're just feeding your body what it wants you to feed it, and it will treat you right in return. Absolutely. So the flip side of all of that, if you want one thing to remember on the flip side, is don't eat plants or things that are derived from plants, with the exception, of course, of one or two selected plant extracts which are approved. But as a general rule, it's just don't eat plants, basically. All right, fantastic. Before we wind up, is there anything else that you wanted to ask of me while you've got me? Is there anything that might be valuable to people to have dealt with before we close off? Man,
we almost covered everything. I come up with a whole list of questions for you, because, I mean, you know, you being who you are and everything. And, I mean, there's basically two things that I see all the time whenever I'm sharing this way with people, and, you know, sharing this diet and even my experience, which has gotten me in a lot of places to be able to share the carnivore diet with everybody, you know, different people. But the two things that I see the most are, you know, number one being that the nutrient deficiencies. You know, are there any nutrient deficiencies that an individual on a carnivore diet should be aware of, and how should they address them? And I know that, you know, you being a research scientist and, you know, all the different, you know, titles that you hold, I was like, if I can get some of these guys that have that kind of a background to be able to speak to that issue, and I know you have before, but what would you tell these folks?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think of myself, Shawn, these days as a recovering research scientist. I've seen the light on that because, I mean, and really that's the message I'm trying to get across to people, is that science isn't this great canon. It isn't this great word of God or anything like that. It's just a bunch of people running around applying a set of disciplines, more or less, mostly less, trying to make themselves out to be important, trying to prove stuff that they can't. And that's why mostly what I'm talking about when I'm talking science is poking holes in it, because it's got more holes than your average kitchen colander. The thing's leakier than a sieve, frankly. Science, GTFO, don't give me that. Let's look at what we know. Let's look at what we've experienced. Let's look at the anecdotes. Let's see how people like yourself, Shawn, bear up after 18 months, 2 years doing what we know to be right. Well, you're another example of it. N equals 1. Well, now we have N equals probably over 1 million now of people that have experienced exactly what you have. You ain't special in that regard. It's not because there's anything different about you. You're just following the human appropriate species-specific diet. It's that simple. So that's basically what I say on that. Now, in terms of, are there any deficiencies or shortages that a person can expect if they eat a species-appropriate, species-specific diet? Well, there's your answer. Species-appropriate, species-specific. So the answer is no. There ain't nothing that's missing from meat and fat.
Absolutely. I agree. And that's the message that I try to get across. And the second one is that can you share any insights on how the carnivore diet affects athletic performance and recovery? And are there any specific advantages or disadvantages in that regard?
Yeah.
And that's the two.
Yeah, great question. Awesome. Yeah, look, in my academic career, I worked in 3 or 4 different specializations over the years because I kind of felt like a change various times. So there are actually 3 things that I'm really quite expert at, and the first and foremost of them was actually exercise physiology. I have been involved in training both sub-elite and elite athletes and or occupationally active individuals at a very, very high level for a number of years. And I can tell you that when you take someone who is either just sub-elite or indeed elite professional in the field of physical challenging things, sports, occupations like the military, police work, firefighting, those kind of things, that once a person is properly metabolically adapted to a carnivorous diet and they're properly adhering to it, i.e. not poisoning themselves with carbohydrates and plant material, those athletes and occupationally active folks, not only do they perform as well as they ever did on carbs, they're actually kicking ass. They are well ahead of their colleagues, their cohort of folks, their peers in that field. They are winning, and they are winning easily. They are literally kicking ass. Now, a lot of people say, well, why aren't we hearing about this? Why aren't we hearing about all these carnivore athletes? Well, the answer, Shawn, is this. It's because they're kicking ass, and they don't want their colleagues to know. So of course they're not telling their colleagues and their competitors what it is that's giving them that edge, because they want to keep that edge. So they're keeping it to themselves. Now, I can tell you that I have consulted two different military organizations, 3 or 4 other occupational, if you like, active organizations. And I say 3 or 4 because one of those is sporting. However, it's people that are paid to be involved in that sport as officials, actually. We're talking about referees. I've also worked with the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team in the past. And I can tell you that there have been some fantastic results. Oh, sorry, I've also got at least one professional MMA fighter on my books as well as a client. And he's doing just fine, thanks, without any carbs in his diet whatsoever in terms of his training, in terms of his fighting performance on the night. So I can tell you that these athletes are doing just fine, thanks. But they ain't going to tell you about it.
That's right.
And I'm not at liberty to either. So
right, yeah. Well, I absolutely wouldn't ask you for that, but I'm glad that you could speak into that issue, because that's the two things that, you know, I always see whenever we're discussing issues with, well, you know, I need some carbs because I work out really hard, and, you know, I just wanted somebody with some experience to be able to speak on that issue and say, hey, look, you know, it all goes back to species appropriate diet. You know, it's what we were designed to eat, and it's, if you want optimal performance and you want to be at the top of your game, feed your body the right stuff to get there. Period.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, just to close off on the athletic thing, you do need to understand that when a person changes from a carb-heavy diet to a carb-less diet or a carb-poor diet, there is a period in that athlete's performance that will trough. There will be a decline because their body is not used to being fed that way, and it needs to re-gear the metabolic machinery, and it takes time. I always say to these people, you need to understand that this is a 20 plus or minus 6 week adaptation period. You need to know that your performance will decline for 6 months. You need to be prepared for that. The payoff is when you come out of that, you're going to be ahead of everybody else. So do you take that step back in order to take that step forward? In my view, yeah, good idea. Unless, because here's the thing about any kind of athletic performance. If you want to perform in the pack, if you want to perform the same way everybody else does and be no one special in sport, you just do what everyone else does.
That's right.
And you'll get what everyone else gets. You want to stand out from the crowd, you need to do that in your diet and in your training methodology, which a lot of people get wrong. That's the thing that will separate you from others. I mean, the people that throw the argument at me, yeah, but everyone else is training, you know, this way. All the other trainers are saying, do it this way, so you must be wrong. That's my answer. Well, great. You want to get the same kind of results as everyone else is getting, you just do what everyone else is doing. You want something different, you come and listen to me. Don't know if that makes sense. I hope it's gone up the flagpole for a few of you. There you go.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I appreciate your time and everything today.
No, I appreciate yours, Shawn. And, you know, again, all I can say is, wow, you know, great job, incredible story, powerful story that you've given us there in terms of your change from where you were and who you were to who you are now. Long may it continue. Stick with us. I'm sure we'll have Shawn back in about 6 months, 8 months, and he'll be 175 to 185, somewhere in there. That's just the way it works. That's what we're seeing again and again and again with people. N equals as many as you like. Shawn's just N equals 1. There you go. Before we go, Shawn, tell us all about your social media. Where do we find you? Where are you active? How can people get hold of you?
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I started the YouTube. I have a channel called Intentional Carnivore. I believe in intentionality. So Intentional Carnivore at YouTube, and then Shawn White at Facebook. And that's the two places I can be found. I'm a moderator in the Carnivore Quest community group on Facebook for anybody brave enough to tackle the Facebook still. But our group is phenomenal. You know, we keep it polite, keep it carnivore related, and support each other. And if we don't, we kick them out. So it's as simple as that.
Good work. Love it. All right, Shawn. Thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart. And I'm sure that everybody watching this thanks you also for adding your voice. Because
thank you as well.
The more voices we have singing this song, the better our choir sounds. And the harmony we have here gets better and better. As I say, I just wish we could get rid of these people that want to complicate this. It's not
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Join me next time. We're probably someone will be wrong on the interwebs because that doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon. See you then.
That's right. Maybe. Bye.